So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you've been quiet for long, so I promise only one last, talk to go. We're all talking about building the agile organization today, and the last conversation is with me. So I'm going to introduce myself for those of you who came in late. I work as Chief Talent Officer for the SR Group. I have been with the HR fraternity for over 25 years now. I'm largely an oil and gas HR professional. I worked with Shell, BP, and then was Director of Human Resources with BG before joining the SR Group about 8 years ago. I handle what I like to call the sexiest HR assignment within the SR conglomerate, because I handle everything other than transactions. I oversee performance, talent, leadership development, diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, and I handle cultural integration, post-acquisitions, and so on. So I also lead their technology projects. So HR technology and digitizing HR is what I handle. And it's been a very exciting run. In the last couple of years, I also set up, like I said, the Learning and OT Roundtable. I'm the founder of that, and also the founder of the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. So I think with that, let me come to the topic on hand today. So I'm here to be able to talk to you about building the agile organization, leveraging HR trends to be able to build the agile organization. So I'm going to remind you one more time, like I said, this is a learning session, so please keep your insights to action sheet ready. This session intends to summarize largely the whole context of building agile organizations, especially in the context of what we do and how we contribute through HR, learning, and OD. So it's going to take you through rapid fire 12 trends in HR, learning, and OD, and how these trends can be leveraged to be able to build the agile organization. So I'm going to ask you to keep your insights to action sheets and your pens ready as I take you through this very rapid fire session. You'll get one thought per minute, so make sure that you're writing these down as we go along. Of course, we can continue the dialogue over a conversation later on. So building the agile organization, leveraging HR, learning, OD to build the agile organization. There are in fact tremendous forces that are changing the world of work as we know it. Whether it's increased employee expectation, increased customer demand, globalization, disruptions caused by technology, disruptions caused by new customers. We're all living in a very, very different world today. A world that requires an agile organization. Like I said, a world where the solutions of the past don't hold true for the future. So as we try and attempt to build this agile organization, it goes without saying that the world of work has changed and our relationship with work has changed. And so therefore, the people who actually handle and manage people at work also need to change. And I think this session is going to try and focus on the kind of industrial era solutions that we're still rooted in within the HR community. I think collectively as a community, we've been extremely lazy, extremely laid back in finding contemporary solutions for the knowledge worker. The knowledge worker who builds and who wants to contribute towards building the agile organization. So the large question this talk really begs is what much must HR, learning, OD do to be able to actually help build this agile organization? How can we indeed build agility within HR, learning, OD to be able to contribute meaningfully towards creating the agile organization? So I'm going to take you through rapid fire 12 trends in HR, learning, OD. And each of these will give you a sense of urgency in terms of the kind of quantum of work we need to do as a community towards being able to create the agile organization for the knowledge worker, keeping ourselves rooted in reality of what this situation really demands, should we want to equip our organizations to be able to succeed and survive in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous business environment. The first thing that we can see amply clearly over the last over a decade is that digital has greatly disrupted HR. So we're clearly talking about digital technology like social, gamification, cloud, mobile, big data, consumer application, and all of that, which is transforming the way in which people are working inside the organization. And therefore, we need to be able to provide these people the support to become and remain agile and help towards building the agile organization. What goes without saying is that HR now needs to find solutions that are rooted in social, gamification, cloud, mobile, big data, and leverage all of these as solutions as it deals with the new knowledge worker. Gen Y is used to very, very stylized content. They actually, the kind of user interface they were actually used to and are used to utilizing are of a very, very high order. Therefore, asking particularly Generation Y, and for those of us in denial, Generation Y constitutes over 65% of most organizations. I work in the infrastructure and manufacturing space, and the average age of my organization is 27 years, with over 67% of the organization being below the age of 35. So we're dealing with a very, very different group when we refer to talent that wants to use these kind of solutions to be able to participate in HR programs. So the big question this really begs is how ready are we as a fraternity to be able to, how tech savvy or technology savvy are we to be able to actually use this kind of disruptive technology and actually offer technology-based solutions within the organization. The big challenge we're having in this sphere, and I have Ravi here from the Deloitte organization. Bursin offers advisory services through Deloitte. In one of his recent conversations, which we were having together while he was here in India, we spoke about HR. He had a couple of really interesting slides where he spoke about HR at gunpoint. And he was talking extensively about the deep anguish and disappointment the CEOs the world over experience with HR. And how slowly but steadily parts of this function are being hijacked by other functions within the organization. One of the areas that's clearly being hijacked is technology. And I'm appalled to see the number of organizations that are trying to digitize HR by not acknowledging that it is indeed a change management agenda rather than a technology agenda, because who you see actually lead these projects are CIOs and chief technology officers rather than human resources and OD people. So, and I don't know where those projects really go, but the big question this really begs is why is HR or learning not seen as the ideal group of people to be able to lead technology projects, particularly those which involve digitizing HR within the organization. So this first trend really begs the big question, how ready are we as a community to be able to understand and acknowledge this disruption caused by technology? The people we are catering to are people who are working in this space. How well do we understand their world to be able to offer them solutions that are technology-based? Tapping skills anywhere, anytime. So there's no time anymore, with all due respects to the 3x3 matrix. I mean, we all love those matrices, We all love talking about succession planning, succession development. What the line managers want, particularly within the agile organization, is talent now, now, now. How ready are we to be able to provide them talent on the tap? So they are not able to wait for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Most of them, when you tell them, well, short-term successors, medium-term successors, long-term successors, they don't have time for that. I need talent right now. I have the opportunity right now, so I need the talent right now. And guess what? I don't need this talent where you have it available. I have work, so therefore talent needs to move where the work is. And therefore, the big piece that this really questions is how well are our programs built to be able to deliver to this kind of agility that organizations are actually expecting in the context of knowledge, in the context of talent. Also, how well do we know and understand our own talent? I think the big question this really begs is, do we even know who our talent is? Do we know what kind of experiences, backgrounds do they have? How ready are they to be able to cater to the organization's new agendas? Managing your people as the workforce of one. This is one of my favorite trends, and I see this as important because I think for far too long we've been really lazy as a community. We have always used a one-size-fits-all kind of a strategy where there'll be one policy which is applicable to everyone, one program that is applicable to everyone, one kind of recognition program which is supposed to be applicable to everyone. And this trend really begs the question on how ready are we and how agile are we to be able to, because this is where the trend is really going. This is what talent is expecting within organizations. They don't want the one size fits all. They want to know how well it is that you can customize your programs, your processes, your policies to the workforce of one, which means that how well do we actually use the principles of CRM to understand what individuals might really require within the organization so that we're able to cater and design and offer our programs, like I said, to the workforce of one. The rise of the extended workforce. Increasingly, the definition of workforce itself is changing. So workforce is no more the people who work regularly on your roles. They're the people who work on contract basis. They're your vendors. They're your learning partners. There's anybody who's contributing. They're your outsourcing partners. They're all those people who are actually contributing to the productivity and success of your organization. So as HR, do we have the ability and the generosity to be able to have, and most important, remaining rooted in reality, to be able to understand that workforce is not our regular employees who are on our regular roles. That anything that you want to drive meaningfully within the organization will need to have this all-encompassing definition that involves and includes contractors and advisors and consultants and third-party vendors and your outsourcing partners and so on and so forth, so that all processes, programs, more importantly, the philosophies of your organization, the policies of your organization, the values of your organization now need to be shared, because there are organizations where almost 40% of who really contributes to the organization as workforce are not people who are regularly on their roles. So really, to be able to acknowledge this and to be able to have programs that involve and include what we don't formally call the workforce. So the rise of the extended workforce. Talent management meets the science of human behavior. I mean, for a long time, what we've really touted is our area of specialization, and I'm going to come to that at the end of this presentation again, whether do we really have an area of specialization? But because a lot of us, when we get asked why we've chosen HR as a profession or as a career, the typical answers we normally get in interviews is that, I like and enjoy people. I mean, that could lead to 100 other professions. I mean, why HR? So really, what is the expertise? What is it that we're bringing to the party that is our differentiated edge, that actually allows us to say, well, this is my expertise, and this is what I know, and this is what we really bring into the organization. So for long, we've claimed that our insights and our understanding of behavioral sciences is our edge. And the future trend in HR really is to be able to now move that into using the very developed sciences on the brain, and the developed understanding and insights on the brain and how the brain works. So really, behavioral sciences now evolves into insights on neurosciences. And along with that, what is growing is a very increasing body of work around big data and data analytics. And therefore, marrying the two in a meaningful manner to be able to provide insights to the line, to be able to make the right kind of decisions, to formulate the right kind of programs, and to generate the right kind of people solutions. So what this is indicating is that there needs to necessarily be an area of expertise that we're able to offer in the area of HR. We can't hide behind transactions anymore, because increasing the trend is that the transactions are going to be outsourced. Learning drives the agile organizations. Really, increasingly, organizations are going to look at HR and learning to become the centrifugal engine of driving change inside the organization. Because this is going to be finally about culture. It's going to be about behaviors. It's going to be about habits of the heart, like Professor Ram Narayan was pointing out a while ago. So really, it is going to look towards HR learning to be able to drive agility within the organization. So really, the big question this begs is, how ready are we to become that centrifugal engine for being able to drive change within organizations? Social drives the democratization of the organization. I think this is a very, very interesting trend, especially with increased collaborated working and collaborated learning that organizations are offering within the, as opportunities within organization. What this is slowly and steadily doing is that it is democratizing the workplace. What this really means is the hierarchies are bending over, are breaking down, power distances are breaking down. Teams are no more going to start looking upwards for solutions, because really in this very volatile, uncertain, in this very confusing world, these solutions are not necessarily on the top. Because like I said, the past is no more predictor of the future. So what really enables people to have seasoned judgment in senior roles within the organization may not hold true in the context of the new challenges that organizations are experiencing in the current and will continue experiencing into the future. So what we're going to see happening, which could be very interesting, particularly within Indian organizations, given the very feudal ethos in which we work and the fact that most of our organizations are so power-centric when it comes to hierarchies, it should be very interesting to see how the hierarchy implodes, particularly because knowledge is no more going to be available only at the top of the organization. It's not going to reside only at the top of the organization. So what we're going to see slowly is the death of the command and control style of leadership. It's also not the preferred style of leadership for Generation Y, for those of you who follow research on Gen Y. There's not the most preferred style. Participative, inclusive, something that actually involves them is what they're really interested in, what they find motivating, and what can actually cause retention inside organizations. So what technology is slowly doing is it's suddenly making everyone accessible to everybody else. So this whole business of pipeline and waiting and becoming bottlenecks and the rest of that is slowly going to disintegrate within organizations. These little power centers that have been created because of hierarchy or because of position are not going to count in the long run. The kind of over-dependence on instructions and knowledge and direction from the top is slowly going to implode and create, by force, create equality within the organization. And social and primarily technology is going to cause that. So really the big question this is going to beg is how ready are we as HR learning OD professionals to be able to manage this trend? The fact that people who come in are not going to look for solutions upwards. They're going to collaborate through social media and find solutions with people who work possibly in other organizations as they generate solutions inside the organization. People will remain cutting edge because knowledge is now no more the prerogative of people who have power within the organization. It's going to become more freely accessible, more freely available to everyone. And how ready are we to be able to leverage this kind of democracy, and what else are the fallouts of the typical style in which we're used to working inside organizations. Reconfiguring the global talent landscape. This should be particularly interesting for those of you who handle talent acquisition within your organization. Because the redefinition of the talent landscape is no more going to be your industry and no more going to be restricted to your geography. What this really means is that in all organizations, in all sectors, are going to expect HR professionals to be truly global, to be ready to be able to generate and find talent wherever the work moves, and to be able to make sure that you understand talent mobility programs well enough to move talent from any part of the globe to any part of the globe seamlessly. To first of all understand where talent is available across the globe, which can give the organization the flexibility to move wherever the opportunity is. So really, how ready are we as a community, as a fraternity, to be able to move and generate talent solutions wherever the work is? Shattering the boundaries of HR. This is a very interesting one, and you're probably already experiencing this trend within your own organization. HR is now no more HR, as in redefined as HR, which is personnel and administration, which is what it used to cater to organizations earlier. So really, that and the recruitment and the transactions is what primarily HR contributed. And there are organizations even today that value HR only for the kind of administrative, transactional comfort that it actually provides to employees within the organization. But if you want to build the agile organization, build the organization of the future, the organization that is flexible and adaptive enough to be able to, like I said, leverage opportunities wherever they might come up anywhere in the globe, this is going to require HR to work across its boundaries, partner across functions, provide cross-functional solutions to employees, and manage a kind of uniform HR experience no matter where people are experiencing HR across the globe. What I also want to make a significant point here is that HR is now involving multiple science. It's becoming more and more eclectic in terms of what the line in HR, the customers are actually expecting from HR. In the slides that George Bersin used during his conversation, during his dialogue here in Hyderabad a couple of months ago, he spoke extensively about HR being hijacked by other functions. And while I mentioned IT as one of the functions in the context of digitizing HR, the other group of people who are slowly but steadily moving off and slicing off very significant parts of HR are the internal communication teams within an organization, the marketing and the branding teams within organizations, because most CEOs believe that HR does not understand marketing and therefore does not understand brands, and therefore is incapable of building an employer brand, whether inside or outside the organization. So therefore, large parts of this assignment are moving outside the domain of HR. And the expectation from HR, therefore, is not just to understand HR in the traditional transactional sense, the kind of industrial era solutions that we have provided for a long time, but a kind of an HR that is far more wider in its perspective, far more wider in its understanding, far more wider on its impact within the organization, which means that it understands technology, which means that it understands the business, which means it can link back to internal communication, which means it is an expert when it comes to branding, which means it's an expert when it comes to marketing, and which means it can make the employer look good both inside and outside the organization, where HR professionals understand the significant role that HR plays in managing reputations for organizations. HR must navigate risk and privacy in a more complex world. I know those of you who work for consulting or in the financial consulting sector or in the banking sector probably appreciate this a lot more, because risk is a very central theme for all of you. But for the rest of us, this is an important trend to be able to focus on, because the definition of risk itself has just gotten much wider. So risk is not risk as in traditionally the way in which risk is really seen in terms of property and confidential information and so on, but risk is going to be risk of reputation. Risk is going to involve the ramifications of poor governance inside an organization to the employer brand. Risk is going to mean having the wrong person in leadership positions within the organization. I don't know how many of you know what the strike rate is. This is Corporate Leadership Council research for India. Does anybody in the audience know what is the success rate of laterally hiring people in leadership positions in India? Anyone here? What is the success rate? If you hire somebody in a leadership position, and we're doing, all our organizations are doing that all the time. What is the chances, what are the chances that someone who joins laterally in a leadership role will succeed within your organization? Anyone? Percentage? Anyone? All right, so the strike rate is 49%. Which means 51% of the time, you're running a risk of having hired the wrong person in a leadership position, which means they don't last beyond 12 to 18 months in an organization. And you can well understand, those of you who've experienced this know what I'm talking about already. It has severe ramifications within the organization, loss of time in terms of deliveries, loss of morale among teams, and severely hampers culture within the organization in a significant negative way, as people stop having faith within the organization's capacity and wisdom to be able to bring the right people into leadership position. Also, questions asked around why leadership talent within the organization is not being groomed. Questions around why people inside the organization are not being provided opportunities to take on leadership roles because of the great celebration and red carpets that we roll out as we bring talent in from outside the organization, with absolutely no science on assessing why the individual would be the right fit for a leadership role within our own organization. I think these are serious risks and serious questions that HR needs to respond to. HR will increasingly utilize analytics and big data to augment its value to the firm. And I know we talk more about this than really do anything about it, but this is a very, very important area. Some of us have not even scraped the surface of it, and I think this is a very, very interesting, intriguing, and value-adding space for HR. You cannot afford to not know anything more about it. It cannot be something you've just heard about. I recommend strongly that we wet our hands, wet our feet, figure out what this really is, and get down to being able to understand HR analytics and the power of HR analytics within the organization. Interestingly, my own experience with this has been it actually reduces your effort substantively in terms of having to invest time in influencing people. It's very, very powerful to know how to use the data that already exists within the realms of your organization. I'm going to leave this as the last thought. I already have an indicator there to be able to stop. Having certified HR professionals will be the norm. The future of HR is, one difference that we will see clearly in the next decade is that people will not be able to merely fall into HR. And we've had that for too long. And for those of you who've fallen into HR, and what we mean by fallen into HR is you have no formal qualification or backgrounds or certifications in HR. You've just come in with the passion of people or because you didn't know what else to do out of college. If you are one of the people who've fallen into HR, well, here's the good news. There are lots of opportunities, including the LNOD Roundtable, to be able to actually build your capabilities in HR. But the point that the trend's actually trying to make is that long ago when HR was personnel, the profession was largely made up of individuals that happened upon the profession. With many colleagues and universities offering HR coursework and degrees at the bachelor's and master's level, it seems that the future HR practitioner will likely have to be formally educated in this discipline to be gainfully employed in HR. And that is a very, very important trend, because the future is less of the generalist, which is more systematically going to be outsourced, more of the specialist, and especially as leadership and customers within organizations count greatly on HR helping them build agility and become the centrifugal engine for change. It will become important that we have some substantive background, experience, and knowledge in being able to carry out these roles of expertise. I think with that, I'm going to come to an end of my presentation. Thank you very much for being able to listen to me.